Well, as we know, we like to always check in with our local history, but today, Harold Peacock from History Out There is not in Queensland. He's in Western Australia. Good morning, Harold.
Good morning, Damo.
It is.
I will go anywhere to find an unknown story about the Darling Downs.
Well, you do. You're on a research mission at the moment in Western Australia because you're researching a colonial hero who caused a bit of a stir when he went on holidays.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I'm in Bunbury in West Australia, and for those that know, it's 2 hours south of Perth, and I'm staying at the historic Grittleton Lodge. Now, it's a historic home, or heritage home, that was built in 1885. It's a two-storey brick and iron building designed in the Victorian Georgian style, which you would know.
Yep.
And it begs the question, is it haunted, and what does it have to do with you and Toowoomba and the Darling Downs?
Yes.
Now, first of all, let me tell you about who first lived here. It was built as the home of Mr. Robert Forrest and his wife, Esther. Now, Esther came from London and England. Two of Esther's sisters were well-known social reformers advocating for better housing, education and entertainment for the poor, and were supporters of the temperance movement. One of them was the first female alderman for the London City Council. Now, Esther herself came here to Bunbury, married Robert Forrest, was permanently invalided following a horse riding accident, had no children, and after ailing for many years, died in 1909 right here at Grittleton Lodge.
Wow.
Now, that was in the morning, and a funeral was the next afternoon. So, given all the misery and death, I actually interviewed the cleaning staff here about the possibility of there being a ghost of Esther. Now, they were quite coy and non-committal, but Damo, look, in all honesty, I have to say, probably not. So we'll move on from there. I'm bitterly disappointed. But anyway, if you thought that Esther's life would have been livened up by her husband, well, think again. That's because compared to the rest of his family, Robert Forrest was a virtual recluse. He was born in Bunbury in 1854, and when he died here in 1924, that was after having lingered at death's door boringly for some days. He was not known at all, except among a really small circle of friends, and that's because he took no part in public affairs whatsoever. However, Robert's family was a lot more exciting and could probably be described as those colonial superheroes of Western Australia that you mentioned at the start. They were regular visitors here to Grittleton Lodge. One brother, Alexander Forrest, was an explorer and two-time mayor of Perth. Another brother was John Forrest. John was an explorer who first came to prominence in 1869 when, ironically, he unsuccessfully led an expedition in search of the missing explorer Ludwig Leichhardt. He then became the first to cross the Nullarbor Plain. As a politician, he was the first Premier of Western Australia, elected to the first Australian Parliament, Australia's first Minister for Defence, and then the first person born in Australia to enter the British peerage.
Wow.
That's because Queen Victoria proclaimed him Lord Forrest, Baron of Bunbury.
There you go.
Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
But in my mind, the biggest news followed John Forrest whenever he tried to visit Queensland. He was in Sydney in 1893 and wanted to visit the Sunshine Colony then, but he was prevented because of the Queensland floods that year, which were the worst in the colony's history. But John Forrest, he tried again and insisted on coming on holidays with his wife to Queensland in 1900. He boarded the mail train in Sydney and was expected to arrive in Brisbane on Wednesday, the 10th of January, 1900. Now, the celebrity explorer and politician, Sir John Forrest and Lady Forrest, as they were then, they were set to be received in Brisbane by huge viceregal welcomes and some of the most glamorous social events of the year. But he never showed. That's because Sir John and Lady Forrest chose instead to spend the night in Toowoomba.
Well, why wouldn't they?
And that's because that's where they enjoyed the generous hospitality of Toowoomba and the Darling Downs. Now, it was a visit that was virtually ignored by the Brisbane media at the time. Now, they were a little bit jealous, but it wasn't just Brisbane that was jilted by Lord Forrest, as he became, because he also stood up Queen Victoria herself.
Wow.
Now, that's because on the way to England for his investiture in 1918, he died.
Oh.
He was buried at sea, so the Queen Victoria never saw him. He didn't have any children, and so his historic Australian peerage was extinguished with him. So, Damo, while the social plans of the Brisbane elite and Queen Victoria were thrown into disarray by Lord Forrest, Toowoomba was the one place that actually benefited from a holiday visit by him.
Yeah, see, the Brisbane people, they're always, still agitated over that, obviously, because, they look down their nose at us. But, hey, we've got the better climate, we've got the better everything here.
That's right, and it all started with Lord Forrest's unexpected visit in 1900.
He knew what was it all about, didn't he?
Hey, look, he's an explorer. He'd been across the Nullarbor, across Australia to east to west, north to south. He'd been everywhere. And where does he stop for a holiday?
Yep, Toowoomba.
Good old Toowoomba.
There you go, on the Darling Downs. Good on you, Lord Forrest. Mate, another great story. Now, of course, you'll be putting this up online.
Absolutely, be the end of the week on historyoutThere.com.
You enjoy the rest of your time over there in Bunbury and WA and see what other little stories that have got a local connection you can dig up, eh?
Oh, look, I'm always searching.
I know you are.
For more stories.
Thank you so much, mate. You have a great week.
You too.
There we go. Our historyoutThere.com is where you need to go and check it all out. And, of course, we love to get our local history into your ears and keep you updated with Harold Peacock. All right, quick break, and then we're coming back to do birthdays.